We often stare in awe at the magnificence of megaprojects around the world, but there are some megaprojects that, instead of inspiring awe, resulted in the death of dozens of people. Anything from bridges to skyscrapers to gigantic dams can crumble at a moment's notice due to mediocre workmanship, rushed planning, and low-tier materials. On this episode of Built a Billion, we present to you 8 of the deadliest construction fails in history. And stay till the end. You won't believe how deadly the last construction mistake on this list is. If you love to hear about all the mega projects of the world, please subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Second Narrows Bridge. To start off our list, let's travel back to 1958, where the Second Narrows Bridge ran into several structural issues at once that led to its crashing into the inlet below. First, a crane that was responsible for joining 2 sections of the bridge malfunctioned, which caused several parts of the bridge to collapse. After looking into the mistake, it turned out that the bridge's collapse was due to many things, such as poor material qualities and shoddy engineering. In addition, the temporary arm that was holding the 5th anchor span was too light to bear its weight. Consequently, 18 workers died, and the bridge was renamed the Iron Workers Memorial Second Narrows Crossing to honor their memory. Lotus Riverside. Apartments are all about location, location, location. Not only do you want to build an apartment where demand is high, but you might want to make sure that the ground below it is sturdy. However, the planners in Block 7 of the Lotus Riverside apartment complex in Shanghai, China, followed a different set of rules. Problems started when the builders of the block decided to dig out a 4.5-meter underground hole for a parking garage. This resulted in a huge pile of dirt that was taken to a landfill that was next to a creek. The weight of the dirt caused the riverbank of the creek to collapse, and water began to seep into the ground below Block 7. Consequently, the ground around the building became extremely wet, which should have put a pause on construction. But they kept working, and the muddy ground ended up being not stable enough to hold the building's weight. So in June of 2009, the whole building toppled over, trapping and killing 1 construction worker in the process. New York crane disaster. When you see cranes in the sky working on various construction projects, do you ever wonder if they fall into the street below? Well, I'm here to tell you that yes, that has happened. On March 15th of 2008, a crane measuring 76 meters high collapsed while construction workers were ironically tying lateral beams to the crane and the 18th floor for structural support. The slings that they were using were made of polyester, which is a very weak material, and were not protected against sharp edges. So, these conditions led to the crane's collapse and the death of 7 people. William Rapetti, the man responsible for stabilization of the crane, was never convicted of any charges. He was charged with 14 counts of manslaughter and even admitted to negligence on his part, but he ended up being clear of all charges. Malpasset Dam. If you ever think of constructing a dam, remember that location is vitally important. You're dealing with massive amounts of water and concrete that could spell disaster if placed in the wrong area. Geological surveys usually take care of this issue, but the designers of the Malpasset Dam missed the memo. In December of 1959, the entire dam collapsed, leading to huge floods that claimed the lives of 423 people. The dam, located on the Rayron River in the French Riviera, was built in 1954, but the builders looked over the fact that the area was situated on a tectonic plate. So when the workers began to use explosives for construction, they damaged the already volatile rock. If that's not bad enough, they built on top of an almost impermeable rock, which caused the water flow to be trapped underneath the dam. Cracks began to form years before the disaster, and the government just ignored it, until the negligent dam would be ignored no more. Quebec Bridge. Imagine building a bridge that killed people, and then building another one only to kill more people. That's what happened with the Quebec Bridge that collapsed twice due to faulty design and construction. In 1887, plans were drawn up to connect Quebec to Lévis across the St. Lawrence River. By 1907, it was discovered that the bridge was too heavy to hold its own weight. The engineering team was still in the process of getting a pause approved when the entire south arm and part of the central portion of the bridge collapsed, killing 75 workers and injuring 11. Ultimately, everyone responsible was let off the hook, and construction on a new bridge began under a new set of engineers. Everything would be better this time, for sure, except for the fact that in 1916, the hoisting devices used to lift up the central part of the bridge broke, causing the central part of the bridge to fall into the water, which led to the death of 13 more workers. Again, no one was charged. They must have really wanted this bridge built though, because construction was attempted again with no hesitation, and the bridge was finally completed in August of 1919. Willow Island Disaster. The Willow Island disaster is thought to be one of the worst US construction disasters of all time. In 1978, a cooling tower under construction at the Pleasant Power Station in West Virginia collapsed. A cable lifting a bucket of concrete went slack, causing a crane that was pulling it to fall into the tower, causing the previous day's concrete to unravel. A collection of concrete and metal scaffolding ultimately fell into the center of the tower, resulting in the death of 51 construction workers. What factors caused this tragedy? Well, the crane had been illegally modified, leading it to collapse when lifting weight. In addition, rushing workers poured concrete into the tower every day, but concrete takes more than a day to set, so the tower wasn't strong enough to take the crane's hit. To make matters worse, there was only one ladder on site, which made escape for the workers impossible. In result of this accident, the victims' families were compensated a staggering $1,700 each for the accident, and the firm itself faced no criminal charges. Thane Building collapse. Unlike the other projects on this list with government approval, the Thane Building in India was a completely illegal structure to begin with. Planners never submitted a blueprint for the apartment building to the government office, and so didn't have the occupancy permit for the 150 residents living there. The architect involved never even went to architecture school. This was a most exquisite recipe for disaster. The building used poor materials and followed absolutely no safety protocols, which resulted in the building's collapse in 2013, killing 74 people. However, the illegal construction of buildings is normal in Thane due to the extreme lack of housing in the face of ever-growing demand. It's estimated that there are 500,000 illegal buildings in the Thane district, and so it's likely we will continue to see incidents like this occur here. It's a sad case that needs a solution fast. Hawk's Nest Tunnel. The deadliest project on this list is unique in that it was in theory a successful project. The tunnel near Gully Bridge, West Virginia was part of a successful hydroelectric project that's still in use today. During construction, however, workers came in contact with a mineral called silica, which causes serious lung problems in those who breathe it. Despite this, workers were asked to mine it to be sold for use in steel processing. Workers who primarily were poor and African American unfortunately could not afford to refuse the work, as the US was in the thick of the Great Depression. So they worked 10 to 15-hour shifts using drills and dynamite to mine the silica without any masks or breathing equipment for protection. As a result, many workers developed a terrible lung disease called silicosis, caused by the exposure of the lungs to silica dust. 1,000 of the 3,000 workers died, consequently marking this construction project as one of the deadliest in American history. New legislation was passed to ensure this wouldn't happen again, but it will forever live as one of the many stains of America's past. What do you think about these deadly construction projects? Let me know in the comments below. Click the pinned comment to visit the Built a Billion store and get some merchandise of your very own. I have plenty more videos for you to binge watch, so click that video on the screen to watch something you haven't seen, and thanks for visiting Built a Billion.